Hare Krishna, beautiful people, and welcome to the Soul Ashraya podcasts. We are your hosts. I am Dr. Jake, and I am joined with my friend and teacher, Balaram Shakti Das, and we are devoted to bring you ancient wisdom for the modern day. Join us as we read the Krishna book by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, and let us share with you the wonderful shelter or ashraya of our dear Lord Krishna. Please join us in the sublime process of transforming our consciousness by hearing and discussing spiritual concepts. Balaram, tell us where you are in the world today.
Yes, I am Interstate 40 in sunny Arizona. I was on my way to Flagstaff. I was hoping I could stop there at a nice truck stop, but we had a tire blowout on the truck, so that was exciting.
Okay.
Very. So we're pretty much sitting here, stranded, waiting for mechanic to come and replace the steer tires. I guess some need to get replaced.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, anyway we can get it done. I guess we're gonna do it no matter what. Flat tires through what's the old saying? Through rain, snow, and sleet. We're like the mailmen. We're bringing you this message through it all because we care about this message. We want you beautiful people to hear this message. So if you're a devotee and you're out there on what, Highway 40 in Arizona, Balaram is accepting all service right now.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you're interested in maybe, I don't know if I should go there. We are also accepting donations of any kind. Oh my goodness. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot nicer when I can actually stop. Like I would have had plenty of time today to stop, and just be in a comfortable place.
Yeah.
But he might come during the show. Okay. If so, I'll just have to step out. Well, I might have to answer my phone. Okay. But yeah, I might be interrupted for a few minutes, but we'll just go for it.
Okay.
Because yeah, as you're saying, like, come hell or high water sort of thing, this is our shraya, this is our shelter. So we're engaging in this process, this sublime process, as we're saying, because it's what we need. Like I need this to, some of this transcendental conversation, discussion, association to transform consciousness just on a regular basis. If you don't, I mean, well, we did a show last Sunday. We didn't post it because not technical, I guess, like internet. It just like was super terrible quality. It didn't work out. Didn't quite work out with the signal that I had. But sometimes we miss a week or so, and it's like, if you go certain amount of time without plugging in, without having that plug in, some of the devotees ki jai, says Andre, then you kind of just, your mind can go down a track, you know what I mean, Jake? It's like it just gradually starts getting weighed down.
Way down on the track, going to the lower chakras. We don't want to go to the lower chakras. Thank you, Mukunda, for showing up. We love you. Dandavat pranams, Prabhu.
Oh, I'm to join. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I will say, even though you got a flat tire, the signal is about 50 times better. Yeah.
Maybe I should just do the show here from now on. Side
It
of the
must
road
be in a
on
flat
I-40.
land of Arizona, must be. No mountains to catch the signal, must be.
Must be actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So yeah, so let's dive right in. We've got our weekly prayers.
Yes.
It's our invocations to our spiritual teachers and to the assembled devotees, to all devotees, to all lovers of God, and to the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is the summum bonum, you could say, of our spiritual life.
Yes.
And yeah, helps us tune in our consciousness. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Right. Okay. And thank you for everyone who is joining us today. We really appreciate it. Okay, I'm bringing up the text right now for chapter 6 of the Krishna book. Prabhu, do you want me to get right into it?
Yeah. As brief as I can, the last session we had was the discussion of Nanda and Vasudev. So now Nanda is returning back to Gokula, and he's considering the terse, ambiguous statement of Vasudev, basically sort of saying like, be careful, right? Make sure your family is safe, basically. So he's considering that.
Yes. Okay. I'll get right into it then. While Nanda Maharaj was returning home, he considered Vasudeva's warning that there might be some disturbance in Gokula. Certainly, the advice was friendly and not false. So Nanda thought there is some truth in it. Therefore, out of fear, he began to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is quite natural for a devotee in danger to think of Krishna because he has no other shelter. When a child is in danger, he takes shelter of his mother or father. Similarly, a devotee is always under the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when he specifically sees some danger, he remembers the Lord very rapidly.
Yeah. So we had a nice discussion, the three of us, last week. We won't try to repeat that, but just to comment on how what we're doing with this process is we're training our mind right? We're training our mind to think of God, particularly under times of distress, because that's the most difficult time, or it's the most pressing time, you could say, to check your consciousness. What's so fun?
Like when you blew a tire and you're on the side of the road, like that kind of a time.
Yeah. Yeah, where was my mind at that moment? It was not on Krishna. It was not on Krishna. Sometimes it is, or like someone cut me off like really severely this morning, and I said the name of Jesus. Just scared, really scared. Wasn't, it's like, it's a sin to, say Lord's name in vain, right? But it's not in vain if you're actually trying to remember him, right? I guess.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the point.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do like that. We just call it like, oh, Krishna, or Krishna, what's going on with this?
Yeah. But you're a pure devotee, so it's okay because the Lord knows. The Lord knows you, So, sometimes
Well,
that's like a split second reaction. You're like, you say the Lord's name, but like I don't know. I feel like from us, it's a little different because we're like constantly thinking about spiritual things. So it's like we're purely looking for like, help. You know,
yeah,
At
yeah.
least, I mean, that's at least that's how I
That's,
get away with it.
yeah. I mean, I remember a time in my youth when I, started to rebel against the sanctity of the name of Jesus, and then began, like in high school and college, would use the Lord's name in a very, what's the word? Like profane or mundane or just irreverent way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Just total irreverence. And it's like, yeah, that's definitely no bueno. That's because you're spitting on God's face, basically.
Yeah.
Saying like, whether or not you exist, maybe I don't believe you exist, but if you do, I don't care for your name. It's like, and his name is he himself.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like if I went up to you and was having the same kind of outbursts or whatever, it would be incredibly rude. That would be. But if our relationship with the name changes, and that really means, because our movement is focused on establishing a relationship with the name of God specifically, but what that means is establishing a relationship with God himself in whatever form, that's showing up for you. The name is particular to our tradition as it is, Christianity with the name of Jesus Christ. Yeah. It's like, this is holy. You want to, this thing you want to have, sacred, not just, irreverent or mindless. So yeah, when we're in times of distress or moments of distress, these names are on our tongue, and it I think you're right in that it only serves to increase our loving relationship with him, and ultimately that's what we're trying to train again, because at the moment of death, that's going to be like the supreme duress. And if you've made a practice to remember God, remember his name during such times, it'll be very natural, because it's like you're cultivating a sense of him being your best friend. That's how I think of Krishna, in these small moments.
Yeah.
I call on his name as if he's right next to me. And I know that he is. He is. He's right next to us in our heart. So that's the kind of consciousness that we're going for. And then, so to kind of bring it back to the text, it's like because Vasudev, the same thing was we read with Vasudev, right? He just immediately took, wasn't it last chapter? We heard how Vasudev,
Yeah, it was. It was.
right? So now we're hearing Nanda, we're seeing the same thing. He's like, okay, Krishna, I'm calling on your presence, your wisdom, your
Yes.
grace, and so forth. And then he kind of just like lets it go.
Yes.
Right. So in the same way, like I might say the name of Jesus or the name of Krishna, whichever
Krishna.
comes out. Yeah, in the moment, but then like what follows from that moment?
I just
do I sit?
I think of some like old lady from Brooklyn. Isn't that what they used to always say? Oh, like it was like either Judas Priest. Oh, Judas Priest. or they got to the point where Hare Krishna.
Right.
Isn't that a thing?
Yeah.
That is saying JC.
Yeah. But then what happens after that? It's like,
yeah.
Because for me, like I got cut off, like this guy and his Mustang or whatever was really upset of how long it took me to pass this guy, up the hill.
Yeah.
And so he cut me off as sharply as he could, and it sent, like in my heart, like that, impulse, like great fear, struck me. And it's like, dude, that's not cool. But then the next moment, it's like, what did I do with that? I could have
road rage.
I could have road raged. I could have totally just tried to, it's like he doesn't know I could actually end his life. He thinks he's all fast and whatnot, but it's like, no, I mean, you don't mess with that. But he probably felt like someone who does something like that, that anger just, it festers. But if we're cultivating this consciousness, it's like, yeah, as soon as we remember God, we can just let it go. Just totally let it go. And then it didn't bother me anymore.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like, I hope that he doesn't suffer from that reaction. That thought also came to me. It's like, the reaction for what you just did could be severe on you. So I hope that you don't have to suffer that.
Yeah, because this is going to kind of lead us right to the text, because there's like you could so easily, when you're in that position, you could so easily like adopt, like lower your standards and adopt a demonic mindset, and we don't want that. Should I read on right here?
Excellent job, Jake. Yeah, very nice, because that's exactly what Kamsa is going to do. He's going to lower it down a few notches and say, all right, let's bring in some demonic forces and clean up the town.
All right, I'll read on here. All right. After consulting with his demoniac ministers, Kamsa instructed a witch named Putana, who knew the black art of killing small children by ghastly, sinful methods, to kill all kinds of children in the cities, villages, and pasturing grounds. Wow. Such witches can play their black art only where there is no chanting or hearing of the holy name of Krishna. It is said that this is wild, dude. It is said that wherever the chanting of the holy name of Krishna is done, even negligently, all bad elements, witches, ghosts, and dangerous calamities immediately disappear. And this is certainly true of the place where the chanting of the holy name of Krishna is done seriously, especially in Vrindavan, when the Supreme Lord was personally present. Therefore, the doubts of Nanda Maharaj were certainly based on affection for Krishna. Actually, there was no danger from the activities of Putana, despite her powers. Such witches are called, I'm going to need help with this one,
Kachari.
Ket, Ketari?
Not Kitchery. Kachari.
I was going to say Ketari. Wait a minute. See, any Sanskrit experts out there?
It's the totally different letters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that I don't Ketari?
Kachari.
Ketari, okay. Which means they can fly in the sky? What the heck? Like on a broom? What
Yes.
the heck? This black art of witchcraft is still practiced by some women in the remote northwestern side of India. They can transfer themselves from one place to another on the branch of an uprooted tree. Is that where that whole thing came from?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Like we said that and it's like you were totally not expecting to read that. I forgot about this. Yeah. Branch of an uprooted tree.
Putana.
That's
Let me get
the
this.
original
Yeah, seriously, right?
the original outcast of Hogwarts.
Seriously, right? That like, of course, like that's right where my mind goes. Putana knew that this witchcraft, and therefore she is described in the Bhagavatam as Kachari.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
So
that
there's
is wild, dude. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, I was not expecting this. I don't know. Should I keep on going?
well there's a lot there's a lot of things we could discuss there.
Yeah,
I mean, we hear these things and it's hard to believe. I think simply due to the fact that our society, our culture rather, has fantasized these things, has sort of like boxed all of these subjects into the category of fantasy and fiction, and therefore it's not doesn't have any bearing on reality aside from subtle and metaphor, you could say. But actually there is a reality to so many things. um, Even if you think that it's only real in the mind, like on a subtle plane, like there are realms where those planes are like physical, right? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. Exactly. Like,
And then if that's true, and it's also true that there are beings that can travel in between those dimensions, who know how to move their consciousness, up and down Jacob's ladder. It's like, oh, where have we heard that? Oh, yeah, that's right. The Bible talks about that. Yeah, there you can do that. It's just our consciousness has been so far removed from these different arts that it's just we're just very far removed from it. But yeah, the black arts of killing small children by ghastly sinful like that whole thing. I mean, this is really like morbid,
yeah,
but
yeah.
there are people like we've seen. Who's that lady that Lady Gaga is obsessed with, who like kills babies and throws their blood on effigies of Satan? Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't. I, it sounds insane, right?
You're
Like,
not gonna read that one in the Wall Street Journal. I'll tell
yeah,
you.
we're definitely not gonna go into like Alex Jones territory here, but like
No,
some of this stuff
she's
is just
posted the videos publicly. It's not
right,
like
right,
not conspiracy. And
right.
Lady Gaga openly is like, "Oh, I love her. She's so demonic." And it's like, well, yeah, what are they doing? They're trying to get power. How are they doing it?
Right.
Taking the power of innocent children.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, well, that's kind of the oldest trick in the dark book, but
Yeah. Yeah. There is, when I think of like actual, like real witchcraft, like, I don't know. I don't really know anything about it, but I do know that there are people that consider themselves, well, I'm a white witch. Oh, well, I'm a black witch. Oh, well, I'm like, like a yellow witch or whatever. I mean, I guess there's like different gradients to it,
yeah, we talked about that a few months back. The three types of magic. We did an episode on that of
We
red,
did.
white, black magic. You
Was
remember
that for
that?
this show?
Yeah, when I was in Mayapur.
Oh, I didn't know there
Anyway,
was red magic.
yeah. Well, I think it was mentioned in the text.
We're not talking
Um,
about ketchup.
yeah, so that's sort of like using the sexual energy, which it's all using sexual energy, to be honest, in the sense that's just the vital energy that it's energy. So magic is just working with energy to produce an effect that transforms something.
All right.
So
When
anyway, I think point being that it's out there. It's like this is real stuff, and like black magic. Like, don't be naive to think that it's not real. In the same sense that you shouldn't be naive to think that there isn't blackness within your own heart. And that's one of the things anyway that this book is doing, that the topics of Krishna are doing, is on a subtle level, Krishna is allegorically performing all of these deeds in our heart. On the physical level, he performed them 5,000 years ago. And on the transcendental level, he's performing them eternally in the spiritual worlds. And so these are, right, three manifestations in time and space, you could say, that transcendental Lila occurs. So Lila is the activity of God and his devotees. So it occurs physically in time and space on the planet Earth and all throughout the cosmos, as Krishna, as the avatar transmigrates between them. But most relevant for us is what's occurring in our own heart. And this is kind of what separates, these three things are like what separates different types of religion. You've got the fundamentalists who are really focused on the event in time. It's like, I have to prove that Jesus Christ rose from the dead in order for my religion to work. Right? There's a lot of Christians that say that, or that try to not say that, openly, but that's what they're claiming.
Their mentality is, it's a win. I win. I won one more soul for God. It's a win.
Right. But what are you doing for that soul's heart? Are you actually exposing that soul to the sublime activities of Christ working in their heart? If it's only about just subscribing and proving that you're right and everyone else is wrong, like, that's not actually having an effect on your heart. That's where you get into this moralism and toxic patriarchy of just needing to.
That's my favorite new word.
So then you've got,
everyone is throwing around, I'm not going to be a part of it because it's too patriarchal. I can't. I just can't. I can't. Too patriarchal. No. Someone's the boss. No, then I can't do it. It's like, okay, I understand. I don't know. I don't know if I want to.
We do understand for the point that I just raised. Like, we understand that structure has been abused.
Yeah.
Because what is patriarchy getting at? And we've talked about this before, but it's like the masculine is is about like establishing order, boundaries, and like a point of reference, actually a reference point that like this is the ideal, this is the standard, and everything outside of that is dangerous, you know. So like the witch hunts, the Salem witch trial, like danger, this challenges the patriarchal order, like we can't have this, you know. So it's not to say that masculine energy in and of itself is wrong, or that you shouldn't have any point of reference, because that's nihilism, and you get into some really dangerous territory when you go too far to the left,
Yeah,
like doing right now.
yeah. I've heard. Believe me, what I've been going through for the last 2 years is exactly what we're talking about right now. Believe me, and I'm not going to say any more than that because I don't want to, like air my personal life on the show. But believe me, I've learned all about it. Yeah. So anyway, moving on.
So well, anyway, there needs to be a balance, and because the feminine is looking for a point of reference, actually, and the man is trying to establish that, right? um and yeah, the problem is when we're not able to own our own reference point vis-a-vis the soul and our connection with God, because that's the absolute, that's why we call it the absolute truth, because that's a point of reference that is absolute, that will always be true, versus hiding behind some authority and saying, oh, they are absolutely, that's like authoritarianism, where it's like we have, you know, um, and then yeah, we're not grounded in the humility that comes with the with having God as the reference point, as the ultimate authority. And instead our false ego gets built up and it gets propped up on the egos of other males that are taking the place of Krishna.
Thank
Right? So
you. Thank
that's
you.
that's toxic patriarchy.
Thank
You know,
you. You
the
explained
original
it.
monarchy, yeah, thank you. You're welcome. The original
Libra.
monarchy was, the king was directly, fully consciously a representative of God. And he had sages and priests above him to counsel him. And he would feel himself subordinate to their counsel as he's subordinate to God, and he was simply a stand-in, for God's authority. He never tried to usurp that power or whatever. But as, the Yoga Nashta Parantapa, as the decline in the ages came, corruption came and all that. Yeah. So you've got, the fundamentalist, as soon as you look at an event in time, a fixed point in time, and reference backwards like that, what happens? You're out of the present moment. You've lost your connection with divinity as it is trying to reveal itself to you now. And you're establishing a patriarchal reference point that is necessarily going to become obsolete and necessarily going to have to constrict its contingency and so forth. And what's gonna happen with that? You're gonna have power hungry people come in, and right, and then you're gonna have a revolt against that, and that's gonna turn to hedonism. So Hare Krishna, Krsna has just joined.
Hare Krishna.
In the heat of the moment.
Yes. And then what you're left with is basically like the George Bush dynasty is what you get. That when you boil it all down.
Well, yeah, you right. We see things like that. We see the toxic male just usurping power.
I'm feeling
so there's I want to stick on this point. There's
yes.
two effects of what happens when you have that first stage. So because we just had a new person joining in, 3 ways that how would you say, like, religion can kind of pan out is you've got a historical manifestation, a historical, like Krishna, Christ came thousands of years ago, on the planet Earth physically, their Lila was being manifest. Then there is the subtle manifestation of the Lila, which is the transformation of the heart here in the present moment. And then you have the transcendental manifestation of Lila that is eternal, that's always going on in the spiritual sky, right? You could kind of think of that like future, but it's really more just like a deepening of the present moment, because it's like what occurs where you enter when you fully complete the present moment transformation in the heart, right? So what occurs is men, right, the male energy takes the place of God, which is because that's it right there. You can't see the bicep, Jake just flexed, but that's what it's about. It's about the power and empowerment, God has given men to exercise power, right? And so that's naturally going to get abused.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing that occurs, is you have an abuse of power when you replace God. Like I was hearing from someone speaking about Nietzsche's claim that God is dead. Well, it wasn't Nietzsche claiming that as much. People take that out of context. I didn't know that. I thought Nietzsche was just an atheist. He wasn't. He was saying that socially, God is dead to us. We don't consider there to be a supreme authority. What has happened from that? And he predicted the two things that would happen is you'd have power hungry, abuse, toxic patriarchy, and hedonism, which is sort of the other end of the spectrum. You've got far right, and radical left. It says there's no authority. I can just do whatever I want. And in this way, you've got the whole decline of society. So that's, you can categorize like religion, fundamentalist religion, as sort of sticking to that past reference point, a reference point outside of the present moment, and hiding behind the authority that comes with that kind of constituency, right? And then you've got religion or spirituality, perhaps more appropriately termed, that focuses on the transformation of the heart through allegory, metaphor, inference, and so forth. And it doesn't require any kind of dogma, right, in order to work with it, because it's just energy at that point. It can be impersonal. It can also be very personal. Whereas transcendental is only personal. The only way to enter into a transcendental Lila is to get personal with God, because that's literally what it is. So there are certain religions that have that understanding as well, and Krishna consciousness, I believe, to be foremost among them.
Yeah,
but so even if you don't ascribe to the toxic patriarchy, which congratulations, right, for avoiding that one. But even if you don't subscribe to the radical personalism of Krishna consciousness, that there's a transcendental realm where a blue cowherd boy is having loving exchanges eternally with like pots of butter and things of that nature, that you don't need that either, in a sense, because what these stories are doing is they're showing you, look at that. Say something, Jake.
That's beautiful. That's what it comes down to. Like, yeah, this is that's
you meditate on that image, like powerful things can happen. But even if you just meditate on the metaphorical meaning, what are they showing you? Balaram, says Krsna. What is that picture showing? Well, perhaps we'll get to that when we get to the stories of Krishna with the butter.
One more time.
I mean, just look at that. It's like, well, there's so many things there, and this will be nice to explore actually when we get into Krishna as a child.
Yeah.
Which the next few chapters. Okay, wait, what was that?
Hare Krishna.
Posted, and I missed.
You had a point and you didn't express it entirely. It was when we see past, we see like, what is it, religion in its entirety, when we see past the picture. What were you saying? The realization of the heart in the present moment.
I think what you're referring to is what I was building on, this idea of in the present moment when we're not establishing our relationship with Lila, with the manifestation of the Lord, in the past, we're able to appreciate his activity right here, right now. And so when we're meditating on these stories, ultimately where it's going to take us is directly into that image. You know, what Jake held up there is a window into the spiritual world. It's the image, you know, and we have imagination. Why? Because we are image bearers. We're meant to hold an image in the prism of our heart that is transcendental, eternal, and untarnishable. That's the soul, and that which pertains to the soul, which you could say is God. Whereas we also have the free will to hold any number of images in our heart as well, being referring, of course, to material images that are not actually images, they're just shards of the mirror. You know, that's called the external energy. And that's when you're looking into the past and the future, outside of yourself, in a sense, outside of what are the things that are fragmenting my heart, fragmenting my consciousness, to not be able to hold this pure, whole image of the soul in my awareness, which can only be present. You know, I can't do that in the past, or if I'm projecting in the future, you know. So when we get present, then these things get unraveled, and then, you know, we enter the mode of goodness. It's called sattva guna. And then yeah, that's what it's all about. You know, avoid those influences on your consciousness that drag you, you know, into these fragmental modes, you know, and hold things that you're meditating. You know, that's what the word meditating means. You're meditating on these images of sense gratification that you think it's gonna satisfy you. You know, it's not that sense gratification is wrong. It's you're trying to gratify your senses with an illusion. It's the shards of a mirror. It's not gonna satisfy you. Whereas the real sense gratification is Krsna. Hold up the picture again, Jake. Like how much fun is it? Like, look at, like, it's a child being fully a child. I mean, I'm speaking so you probably can't see it, but anyway, Krsna sneaking and stealing butter and playing with monkeys, and then feeling the emotion of pure love with his mother, and, you know, the sort of dance that occurs between Krsna and his devotees. That's sense gratification at its best.
I'll post it up on the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, drop it on the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, I will.
I'm using the term sense gratification. It's a little technical, but it means like that which we're all seeking for, which is pleasure, right? We're all looking for pleasure. So the only place you're going to find pleasure is in the present moment. It's like when you're eating a nice piece of pizza, like, when are you enjoying it? You know, in the past, in the future? No, when you're actually eating it. Of course, most of your energy has already been zapped in the anticipation of the pizza, and then afterwards in the lamentation of it. So, like, how much did you actually enjoy it? You know, it's like sometimes I'll catch myself, like, I'll have I have these like fig bars that are really nice, and it's like I was waiting to eat it, you know, I was trying to discipline myself. And then I finally had it, and my mind was elsewhere until the last bite, and I was like, what did I do? Like, this was supposed to be my moment of enjoyment. I totally squandered it, you know. So
I tell you what, that pizza prasad is a slice of heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, so
Wait,
enjoyment.
Keep on reading, or
I'm on a roll here.
Okay.
We maybe
right.
in a minute.
Okay. This guy's stuck on the side of the road and he's on a roll.
Hare Krishna. So we're searching for pleasure. The only place to find that is in the present. And in order to protect that, we have the structures of masculinity the masculine energy, which is doing what? It's sort of sheltering, and anything outside of that, as we were saying, right? It's like danger, right? That could challenge your ability to, for sleeping, eating, mating, defending, living, surviving. Like, we have to establish some kind of structure, some kind of muscle that's going to protect our society from, the darkness, right? It's like Mufasa told Simba, right? It's like everything that the sun touches is our kingdom, and that which it doesn't is not. Don't ever go there. There's so much. That movie's so amazing. It's like there's so much we could break down.
Really is. Good analogy, since we are in Leo season, and
nice.
Yeah, let's thank you.
Shout out to our Leos.
Shout out to all the Leos. You make our life so much fun. It's just fun. Good, clean Leo fun.
Yeah. So okay, so I think enough of it has been said. Okay. So the black, well, that's tying that right back into where we left off. The black arts, because that's what Scar and the hyenas represent. Jake's just
totally
mind blown. Totally. Yes, what else is it? That's the black arts. That's, the Nazi motif that they have, the fire of hell, motif that they had going. It's like, you don't need to know anything about anything to understand what that means. Why is that, Jake? Why is it, even like the first scene in the movie, the sun rises and it shines on Simba on this, like, this pyramidal rock that's the center of, like, you don't need to explain that. A narrator doesn't need to explain that. It's like every infant understands exactly what that means and exactly what the fire and the marching and all that means. Totalitarianism. We know what it means because it resonates within our own self. So this is the necessity of story, the power of story, to invoke metaphor and analogy to help us understand the self. Right. Then you've got the tree of life with the shaman Rafiki, right? That's all the dimensions of the cosmos exist there, and he's the soul, the self, who navigates all of them, right? And then you've got all the personas that interact around. So, so reconnecting with Simba, the divine child, and him reaching his destiny. That's like the hero's journey of reconciling and grappling with the black arts.
There's so much in that movie. I never even thought of that. Like, this is coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It really is.
So yeah, it's like those guys at Disney knew what they were doing.
Oh, they know what they're doing for sure. They always do. Well, should we get back to the book just a little bit?
Yeah. I think did we tie that off nicely, Mukunda, or others, as far as you've got your past, your subtle, and then your transcendental manifestations. So the black arts, understand that darkness is in your life, it's in your heart. You're going to have to do something about it, right, Jake? You're gonna have to do something about the darkness. You got to go learn how to make chapatis. Hari Hari Bol Jai. Thanks, Mukunda. Okay, so the Krsna book is doing that. Just by reading these, just by watching Lion King, it's going to evoke something within you. That's the power of story. So the power of transcendental story is, not only is it going to invoke something in you, and not only is it historically factual, whether or not you subscribe to the veracity of the Vedas, but it's also giving you a sneak peek and actually like subtle entrance into that transcendental.
Yeah, absolutely.
Facing your shadow, choosing an M, flying the light. Krsna said, hero's journey. Absolutely. So where is that light? How do we amplify that light? And how, like, what is the relationship of that with facing our shadow? So That is called God consciousness. God consciousness is simply bringing everything to light. That's all it really is. And what occurs when you bring it to light is something bigger than you is evoked from within you. There's something high, it's a higher power. It's like, Jake, how did you get sober from alcohol? Was it you just pulling yourself, or did something higher than you manifest from within you? From within you.
It was a higher power from within, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It was God consciousness, Krishna consciousness that really got it. That was able to break up the rock that my heart had become. That it broke up the fallow ground with his love and gentleness. Thank God for his messengers when they're on time, when it's just amazing. Yes. So I do want to just read a little bit more here, Prabhu.
So yeah, go for it. How much time do we have?
Oh, we got about 10 minutes.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Okay, so this is interesting. I want to get into this because this is interesting right here. This whole chapter is amazing, right? Okay, so Putana, the witch, entered the county of Gokula, the residential quarter of Nanda Maharaj, without permission.
Yeah.
Dressing herself just like a beautiful woman. She entered the house of Mother Yasoda. She appeared very beautiful with raised hips, nicely swollen breasts, earrings, and flowers in her hair. I wish I knew all the, I know that there's hand signals for all these things that are part of the dance. I wish I knew them all because I could be doing them right now. Probably like this or something. Anyway, sorry. She looked especially beautiful on account of her thin waist. I'll just read on. We'll save the commentary for later. She was glancing at everyone with very attractive looks and smiling face. And all the residents of Vrindavan were captivated. The innocent cowherd women thought that she was the goddess of fortune appearing in Vrindavan with a lotus flower in her hand. It seemed to them that she had personally come to see Krishna, who is her husband. Because of her exquisite beauty, no one checked her movement, and therefore she freely entered the house of Nanda Maharaj. Putana, the killer of many, many children, found baby Krishna lying on a small bed, and she could at once perceive that the baby was hiding his unparalleled potencies, which resembled fire covered by ashes. Putana thought, this child is so powerful that he can destroy the whole universe immediately. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
I like that we can do it break it down paragraph by paragraph because I want to speak on this real quick. She snuck in to the county, which means that speaks of authority right there. She didn't have the authority, so she had to sneak in. And how are we allured by demonic things? They're always so beautiful, right? Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I'm fighting that fight every day with social media, because in this day and age, it seems like people just aren't wearing clothes anymore, right? So it's
more or less.
Yeah. So I'm like, I greatly dislike it that people are no longer wearing clothes. And so what are you trying to prove? You're putting on this, you're putting on this on the outside. Oh, so beautiful. Oh, glamorous, very nice. You're usurping authority by doing that, and you're sneaking into the house. to lord over the innocent child, the most powerful thing in the universe. You snuck in there, and now you're lording over it, thinking, "Wow, this is really amazing. Whoa, I'm gonna get right in here and cause some trouble, right?" We'll read on, but you want to speak to this real quick, Balaram?
Yeah, that's a very nice point. First thing that I thought of was the okay, glorifying Krishna here was immediately apparent to her that she was measured for. Yes, yeah, we'll get to that point. Is that the name Lucifer means light bearer, right? So my understanding of that, what I've heard from spiritual authorities, is that the devil, you could say, that archetype is that which is outwardly glamorous, but inwardly maniacal or diabolical, which more specific actually, from the word, which means to separate. So what is Putana doing? She's going in, as you're saying, she's like sneaking in to usurp the authority. It's like, it's a diabolical scheme that she has here, because she's separating the residents from Krishna is what she's trying to do, and this is in like a really profound kind of specific way, but I like how you were tying that in with the what we might call the agents of Kali on social media, women who are dressing very scandalously, because it's a nice point, I think, that they're doing essentially the same thing. They're sneaking into the sovereign kingdom of your heart and diabolically separating you from the true authority, which is God. And that's
what they're doing.
The toxic feminine is entering in and resonating with the toxic masculine to create its own kingdom without God. So that's Putana and Kamsa scheming, right? And what our job is as Nanda, you could say, as the individual, the hero, it's to take shelter of Krishna. I mean, Yashoda as well. I think this story more specifically speaks on the relationship between Krishna and Yashoda, because it's a maternal Lila here. So okay, it's to, well, they're totally bewildered. Actually, it's not even that this story is teaching us to take shelter of Krishna. This story is just teaching us how amazing Krishna is and how invincible Krishna is. And yeah, as Karina pointed out, the final note of this paragraph. Well, I wanted to chime in, like, all the residents were captivated, right? It's like, imagine the scene. Like, you have to imagine the scene. It's like you're in a podunk kind of town, maybe not podunk.
Oh yeah.
But you're in a village, you're in a cow herding village, and someone walks in dressed like the goddess of fortune, dressed like Kim Kardashian or something like that, right? It's like, whoa, like, what? Like, where did you come from? Like, dressing like you were just in Mumbai or New Delhi's grandest, wedding ceremony or something. It's like, and you just waltz right into a cow herding village.
Like, they literally think that this is Lakshmi Devi here.
Yeah.
That's what they're thinking.
Yeah. Who else could that be? I mean, they're not thinking, of course, following this incident, Nanda is going to start really heeding to the practical side of Vasudev's warning, right? And like, we have to do something. We'll get to that, some chapters from now. But for now, they're caught off guard. They were not prepared for a witch to come in. So they're just caught off guard. So then this last point here, this child, she could at once perceive that he's hiding his unparalleled potencies. And this is a great analogy. It's similar to the analogy given when Devaki was pregnant, of like a covered flame, right? It's like that potency is so amazing, but it's being covered, and it's like, it was context back then, but this one, like fire covered by ashes, like you can't see the glow, maybe a slight glow, right? But you can't see the brightness of those embers because of the ashes. But you know, if like, don't step on that, right? That's hot, like you're gonna get burned. So not only are you gonna get burned, but this potency could instantaneously destroy the whole universe. So she's like, that is dangerous. Yeah. Do we have time?
Well, I was gonna say this might be a good place to stop right there because okay, Putana is in. She's looking over the crib and she's kind of licking her lips, thinking, "Oh wow, you know, now what's gonna happen next?" It's a cliffhanger. Perfect place to stop because you're gonna have to tune in next week to see what happens next.
Love it.
See how we do you?
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Bye.
So yes, thank you everyone who is watching this and who tuned in today. Lots of hand claps. Thank you. You are way too kind. Thank you so much. So with that, we will wrap up this episode, which was a great success. Even with Balaram stuck on the side of the road, this was a very, very good episode. So let's end the episode by reciting the Maha Mantra 3 times. And we will thank you for leaving comments and pressing buttons and subscribing to our humble show. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Haribo.
Haribo.